of your hot nights, hot song, hot lips all night long, hot bed of electric dreams, hot flash of electric scenes in your...
Good evening and welcome to Fabulous Past 60. Good evening, Charles.
Good evening, Laraine. Nice to be with you again.
Nice being with you tonight. And here we're back at Channel 36. We have a wonderful time tonight and a fabulous guest. And Mr. Charles Aidikoff is the icon of Beverly Hills. And we've been doing these shows, I think, close to
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Just seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
No, not to me it doesn't.
Anyhow, he has a great screening room in Beverly Hills, and he does show his major motion pictures there, and he invites his guests to the screening room. I just love doing the show with him. But tonight, we have, to my right, Mr. Carl Weintraub, who's here, and it's very nice seeing you tonight, Carl.
Nice being here.
And this gentleman is an actor, a singer, a narrator, storyteller, and he owns a restaurant also. So we have an interesting guest tonight.
Yeah, but you left one thing out. Why isn't he also an icon?
Oh, you're right.
You left
he
it
can
out.
be an icon.
Yeah,
You're
yes,
right.
Aspiring
icon.
Yeah, we can. Icon
Icon of everything.
of everything. That's true. That's great. Anyhow, this is Mr. Carl Weintraub, and welcome to Fabulous Past 60.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Carl, we started the show because we want everybody to know out there how wonderful we are. And there seems to be a stigma out there. As soon as people reach 50, 60, people ask them, when are you going to retire? You know, and I look at them and say, retire? Who wants to retire?
You want me to pull that same thing about retirement again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. No, you got to hear this. True story. George Burns, when he was 99, signed a contract at Caesar's Palace, true story, to appear on his 100th birthday at Caesar's Palace. But unfortunately, he passed away, I think it was 7 or 8 weeks before. But all of his friends that were there said to him, George, for God's sakes, you're 99, retire. His answer, how can I retire? Who will take care of my parents?
He was witty with those
He was
things.
a very funny man.
He was funny. You're funny too,
Oh,
Charles.
thank you.
Anyhow. But anyhow, getting back to the stigma, so I thought, let's get a show together and let's get everything out there. It's hard, it's not easy, but we've been having a good time with it. I have all these wonderful guests on, and from all walks of life, including you yourself tonight. So I'm full of questions for you tonight.
Go ahead, I got no secrets.
You have no secrets?
No secrets.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to say.
Okay, I'll come in.
Fast. I thought he'd be witty with
Are you
that.
sure you have no secrets? How many times have you been married?
I've been married, depends on how you count them.
Oh, I'll count them from the beginning. How many times?
I've been married about 4 times.
4 times. With
Yeah.
4 different women?
4 different.
Or you went back with one a second time?
No, 4
Because you know Natalie Wood did that. She did. She married the same man twice in the 3-4 marriages she had.
I could understand doing that. I mean, they were all good women. They were all good people. You know, if things turned around and it turned up like that, I can see
That's the way it goes,
no reason.
right?
You know, the reason we didn't stay together was just because it turned out not to be right at a certain time. But they were good people. There was something wrong with me if they weren't, wouldn't there? I mean, if I made bad choices, but I didn't. They were good women.
Well, if you say you made good choices and 4 of them decided to leave, or did you ask them to leave? Which one was
No,
it?
it was mostly them leaving me.
Oh, it was
I
mostly
know.
them that
It
made the
was-
decision.
It
They were
was
what,
all-
he's honest.
Every
All right.
time it was them leaving me.
Yeah, he
Was
was
it the
honest.
restaurant that did it?
No.
It had nothing to do
Well,
with
he
the
has a
restaurant.
gorgeous wife now, Lori.
Yeah, I'm
beautiful.
good. I got married every 7 years from the time I was 21. 21, 20, I told you about 7 years.
Oh.
21,
Oh, that's what you mean by
35,
35 and 42, right?
See, I can add also.
Now
Go
I've
ahead.
been married for 21 years. So
With the same woman?
To the same woman, right, yeah.
She deserves a medal after the other
She,
3.
you know, one woman that kept me, she kept me.
She's used to you.
She's
That's it.
you know, and I'm a lucky man. She's a fine.
She's lovely. She's an actress too.
A wonderful.
Now let's
actress.
get to his,
Okay.
his work
I know. I'm
that
going to
he
find
writes.
out. I will.
Please do
I
it
know
now.
we have a lot to cover.
We only have a
shortcut.
half hour.
I know.
Go.
I know we do. Okay. Tell me. I want to find out what motivated you to get into show business first of all.
I don't
What-
think you've got a choice.
What do you mean?
I
You
think
don't
if,
have a choice.
I think there's certain things. I mean, the arts that you have to do. I mean, if you were born to do that, you know, it's in you. You can't. My agent one time was looking at pictures. You know, you take the headshots, and the agents help you decide which headshots
Right.
you're going to use. And she went through a whole bunch of them, and then towards the end, there were a bunch of them with me putting on funny hats and making funny faces. And she says, "Why do actors do this? Why do actors do this?" And I said, "Because we have no choice." You think we'd do it? You think we'd subject ourselves to all the pain and the heartache that goes into being an actor in this world if we didn't absolutely have to do it in our hearts?
It's a special calling.
Yeah, I have no choice.
Comes inside.
I have no choice. I have to do this.
And you're a comedian too.
Well, tell me, who called you?
Who called me?
You said it took a calling. Somebody must have
people,
called you to
excuse
be
me,
an
people
actor.
say that, Charles. You know, they say you get a special calling.
All right,
But
I
you're
want
right.
to know who the
What do
special
they mean by
calling
that?
was.
You're
They-
right. What do
no,
they mean by that
no,
when
they
they
do
say you have
call.
a special?
I know.
They do call. I mean, what is it? It's
Yeah, what is that? Is it like a psychic
Please,
thing?
that was my question. Let him talk to me.
Oh, that's
Answer
true.
me.
That's interesting. It's who called. I come to.
Could it have been any one of your 3 ex-wives before this one?
What about
Did they have anything to do with it?
with me getting it? No, as a matter of fact.
This was before you got
no,
married.
when I got my first job, when I got my first professional job acting, which was at the Globe Theater in San Diego. I had just gotten together with this woman, and we had just gotten together. She's a very passionate person, and I got this job, and I said I'm going to move down to San Diego to do this job, and she took all of my stuff and threw it out into the middle of the street.
That's it? And
Was
that
that
was
before the divorce or after?
Then she moved down there with me, and we had a
Oh,
kid
wow.
down there together, and
Uh-huh.
and, yeah, it was- and then you know, little by little it went away.
then time went
But
on.
so I don't know,
But-
the calling. I came into town. I'd been out of town for a long. I'd gone to New York, and I'd been.
How old were you when you started?
27 was when I got my first professional job.
Uh-huh.
I had.
You know, excuse me, parents usually say, you know, years ago they used to say, oh, we don't want our children going to show business.
You know something?
Stay out of show business, be a doctor, be a dentist,
I
be an
wish-
attorney.
I wish I remember the name of the woman. I was working at the Taper, at the Mark Taper. It was, they had a rep at the time, and there was a real grande dame of the theater who was in this production. I wish I could remember her name. And we were all sitting around one day, and she had a daughter who was 18 and beautiful, and she came by, and we all met her, and we said, what's she thinking of doing, studying? They said, oh, she's going to be an actress. And we all went, oh, no, you can't let her do that.
That's what
You
I mean.
can't let her be that. And she sits up and she says, how can you say that? She said, in what other profession would she meet people like you?
Smart woman.
That
Perfect
is
thing
the
to
Truth, though.
say.
I mean, it's a great,
Perfect
wonderful
thing to
people.
say.
Wonderful people in this. I mean, actors get a bad rap being this way and that way, but for the most part, these are artistic, intelligent,
That's right.
you know, interesting people. I can't imagine
Very good adjectives. And
Yeah, great
you're so
people.
right. You're so right.
great people.
That's why you're on the show tonight. That's for sure. Okay, so you started in the
But
business. and you do-
think about the calling, right? It's that type of thing. I had gone away to New York. I had taken a spiritual path. I had studied with a teacher in New York, and then I had come back to California. On the way, I had broken my back, and
How did you break your back?
I drove off a cliff on the way from New York to Los Angeles, and
Going the wrong way.
one of 3 times I'd broken my back. And so I came back to LA, and I was kind of recovering from this broken back, and so I wasn't doing anything, and I called up a friend. When I was a kid, my acting teacher in junior high school had taken us down to the Globe Theater, and it was something I I just love the Globe Theater. And I called a friend up and said, do you know when they're auditioning for the Globe Theater? And she said, yes, they're auditioning in Los Angeles today. And I called up and they said, well, auditions are over for people who aren't equity, but if you come down, we'll sneak you in, right? Why would they do that? And they brought me in, and I got the job. That's what I mean. That's, would you say, what it called? I called up, I made the call, you know.
Right,
when
right.
are they,
It's timing.
When are they, yeah,
It's timing, though.
synchronicity.
That's right. You're right. That's what happens.
So it is a call, you know, things just fall in the right. I've never been very entrepreneurial, you know, I never have been able to sell myself or anything. It's been I mostly react and, you know, take the situation as it comes and try to respond.
So you've done mostly television?
Mostly, yeah. Yeah, mostly television and theater.
And
and
theater,
stage, yeah.
Drama, comedy, or
Whatever they'll let me
mixture.
do.
And whatever they
they'll
will
let
pay him for,
Yeah.
as long as the money is there.
what's in your heart? What do you prefer to do?
It
What
doesn't-
what
it-
do you enjoy doing? Oh, and wait a second. You must have something that you like. You ask some people, you know, they do comedy, they sing, they dance, but what's really in your heart? You know, some people
What
say,
don't you understand about him saying like this to every one of the things? He keeps saying no, and you're still
All of
asking
it.
him.
It's all of
Leave
it.
him alone
It's all of
already.
it. It's all of it. I mean, you
You just love show business,
you
entertainment.
love
That's
making
it.
people laugh. You love making people cry. The great thing about theater, as opposed to say stand-up comedy, I wouldn't want to be a stand-up comic because then there's only one valid response. You know, you tell a joke, if it doesn't laugh, you failed, right? In theater, you can say something funny and people will cry, or you can say something, say something tragic and people will laugh, and it's always a valid response, right? So that's the theater as opposed to.
That's why I hear
Ooh, I
people
wouldn't
say
trust
that's
this.
why they love theater.
Yeah.
In
It's
a
the
way, I have to-
connection with the audience.
In a way, I have to take exception to one of the things you said about being stand-up. If you tell something, they don't laugh, you fail the problem. Well, I'm called upon to do a lot of stand-up on charities that I do. And I always stand up before I go into the spiel, and I go into some stories. I've never had any one of them that I've told it to didn't laugh. Everyone laughed at everything that I said, everything.
And that's true.
And-
I've been there.
And I have a lot of fun doing it, and I never do the same thing at two different charities. I have different models. It depends upon who's in the audience.
Yeah.
And I like to get at them. I can go off the stage with the mic and I go right at them. But I love doing it, so I have to change your idea about.
Well, I'm not saying.
That was you personally.
I have. It's just me. I'm just saying me. I have so much respect for those people who get up and do it. I mean, I think it's a brave thing to
Well,
do.
that's the hardest
and-
thing, to connect
and
with an audience.
More power.
This
But
is.
I love. I mean, connecting with an audience is. I mean, I love that. It's one of the things I love about this theater I do for young audiences. This is this
Well,
company.
excuse me, it's because they pick up on it. When you love it, they pick up on your vibes. And this is half the battle, I
They're
think,
honest.
too.
They're honest. They're
They're-
in the moment. I do. I started a company called We Tell Stories in 1981.
Yeah, you did mention that. I did ask him earlier about WeTellStories.org.
Yeah, check that out.
Yes, check it out on the web. And what year did you say you started?
81.
81?
81.
And you travel all over and do this, right?
Yeah, I
To
do
the schools?
mostly in the schools, but
Okay.
we were the first company to perform on the stage at the Getty Center, at the Getty Villa, at the Skirball Center, at the, we're.
And excuse me, could you tell us a little bit about, you mentioned you bring a trunk and you
It's
have the
trunk
costumes
shows,
in
yeah,
there.
trunk shows, costumes.
Yeah, I think they'd
it's-
like to hear about it. It's
yeah,
very
it's-
interesting
it's,
how you do this.
It's like a traveling trunk show, and
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 you do
it's
all types. All types. Like
mostly
you said,
folk tales.
Folk tales.
Folk tales
okay.
and some good literature too. Generally a show will have 3 stories in it, and show could be about good literature, could be stories of Latino folk tales, African American folk tales, Asian folk tales, a show from different cultures about self-esteem, another one from ancient cultures about taking care of the earth.
Excuse me, it's so good for the students in school. It's a wonderful.
It's wonderful.
Project. It's great.
I mean,
Such an asset
and they're
to
funny.
have.
I mean, they're fun and they're funny and they're big energy, and we get kids out of the audience to be integral characters in the piece with
They
us.
probably never want you to leave when you do these shows. They enjoy them so much.
No. And it's. I mean, it's my ticket to heaven. It's great work in the world. It's wonderful work in the world, and I mean, I just did it this morning.
I was just going to say, you told me he went to Santa Barbara this morning.
No, Santa Ana.
Oh, Santa Ana this morning.
Santa Ana,
Did
yesterday,
that,
yeah,
and then came back, did the restaurant.
Went shopping for the restaurant. Yeah,
and then got ready for the show tonight, and then you're going back to the
I'll go back to
restaurant
the
tonight.
when I leave here.
That's a schedule. And 60 plus, folks. That's what I mean. You don't stop. You go and you go and go. Why should life change? That's why you look so young.
I feel we got. I mean, I can't. It seems like the younger. Don't you find this that the younger kids are marvel at anybody having that kind of energy?
I know. They don't know how we do it.
They don't know.
They
have no
don't.
idea. They'll find out
They
later
How do you
on.
do
They'll
that?
find out.
Yeah,
it
they
just
say-
seems. I don't know. It just seems kind of natural.
I don't know. Maybe it's the way we were trained or something. I don't know.
It's a work ethic.
Work.
Ethic. We
That's
had a
what they
work
said
ethic.
about me too and everything.
We grew up with a work ethic.
Yeah, we did. Work out.
The 50s work ethic.
Of course, I'm from New York, and we used to say, come on, you could walk every place. Walk to church, walk to work, do all of that. So maybe it's background. I don't know. But it's a different world today. Entirely different today.
I think part of it is that the social network is now a virtual social network. People aren't getting together. And it's really confusing to me because I watch my kids, my youngest kid, who's really, really is part of that, right? I mean, when he's sitting down.
And how old is your child?
My youngest?
Yes.
My youngest is 20. He just moved out. He just moved up to Berkeley. But when he was sitting doing his homework on his computer, he was in a room with 20 people, basically. And so in a way, he's always connected to his friends. And another way, they don't have to actually touch each other because, because they're already connected. It's weird. I can't figure out if it's a good thing or if there's something dark about it. Right?
I don't know. It's just hard getting used to, but we have to get used to it. That's the way it is today. And
it
everything.
is.
But it's exciting.
It is exciting.
What we do out there and everything like that. And what are you, a baritone? You said you sing. You're a tenor.
I never
you
thought
do
about
blues.
that. I played. I
The banjo you play?
No, the guitar.
Oh, the guitar.
The banjo.
Didn't we have somebody on here once who played the guitar?
I think we did. Yes,
was
we
some
did
guy that
from the
would
show,
play,
from
yeah,
Channel
yeah.
36.
Yeah,
We
the
had
other
somebody
one, the
here.
other place,
In the
yeah.
other place, definitely. We had somebody on. So you played musical instruments too.
Play the guitar. Not real great. I mean, I played enough to accompany myself and play the blues a little bit.
Okay. So from the acting, I think you mentioned something about a member of your family mentioned a restaurant that was close to a house, and they said, "How about let's get into the restaurant business?"
I'd
How did that?
been running We Tell Stories for 21 years, and I believe that we live our lives in cycles of 7, or things happen. And there was 3 cycles of 7 that had happened in We Tell Stories, and I felt it was time for me to give that up. Time for me not to be the leader of that anymore. There's a danger of becoming, especially in nonprofit work, which that is. Yeah. There's a danger in becoming identified with it.
I know
right?
what you mean.
I mean, in other words, the company becomes identified with you, and you become identified with the company, and then you're not necessarily you anymore. It's all one thing, and I never wanted that to happen. So there was a wonderful woman, Diana Tanaka, who was part of the company for a long time, and was perfect to take over the artistic directorship of it. So, and
Which is carrying your dreams ahead of it.
right there, it
doesn't
happened
stop.
right at that time,
Doesn't
right?
stop,
And right at that time, my daughter and son-in-law, who are world-class chefs, phenomenal chefs. She made her name in Chicago and had come back to give me grandchildren.
So your
And
daughter's a
3 of them,
boy.
yeah, she and her husband. And a little restaurant space came available in South Pasadena, which is right around the corner from us. And they said, "Hey, Dad, let's start a restaurant." So I thought I actually thought I was retiring, leaving.
Carl, you
I thought that I was
retire.
retiring. I thought I was
No way.
I was retiring from running a theater, which drive you crazy.
Excuse me, that's as bad as me saying if Charles said retire, I said, what, you retire? Never.
What were you telling me once about his Pinocchio? You mentioned something.
That was with the trunk.
The
trunk show.
Actually, I do the trunk shows, but I also tell stories myself. I also, for instance, the Getty, it's actually CARS, Community Arts Resources, who books the family days at the Getty, and I have a wonderful relationship with these people for 27 years.
You told me you did something with Pinocchio.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. But they will book me and ask me to create a show about. I mean, they were doing the relics of Sinai, the Mount Sinai at the Getty. So they asked me to come and create and tell the story of Moses. So I did the research and did the costume and the makeup and and I do Moses now, right out there. Somebody asked me once. They were doing at the. There was an exhibition at the Arm and Hammer Museum where they were doing Disney art, right, and Disney cartoon art, and there was a whole section of Pinocchio there. So I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the story of Pinocchio. So I went back and really went back to the book, which is a whole lot different than the cartoon, right? It's an entirely different story. I figured it'd be a good idea to tell that because you think it's not as good a story as the cartoon. It's a great story. So I condensed the whole book into a 45-minute telling of Pinocchio. So that's one of the things I do, and I do.
Are you leaving Pinocchio now? I mean, going to something else? Because I have a little story about Pinocchio.
Oh, go, yeah.
That you might be happy
We have
to
to
hear
hear
about.
Tell me a
this.
story
Okay,
about
let's hear
Pinocchio.
this. Okay.
Pinocchio meets up with Mr. Geppetto, okay? Pinocchio, how are you? He says, not so good. He says, why, what's wrong? He says, well, Mr. Geppetto, I have a human girlfriend, but every time we have sex, the wood scrapings bother her and hurt. He says, what can I do? He says, Pinocchio, go to a hardware store and buy some sandpaper and just file it down completely and you'll be safe, it'll be fine. A few weeks later, they meet again. Geppetto says, Mr. Pinocchio, how are you now? He says, oh, I'm great now. He says, that's wonderful. He says, how's your girlfriend? He says, who needs a girlfriend?
Charles.
What?
Only he could get away with that, that's for sure.
Oh, good.
Caramba.
Oh, good.
Boy.
As long as you're talking about elderly people, can I come in with one
middle
other?
age.
Middle age, I'm sorry. Middle age. But this one
yeah.
would have to do with an 85-year-old man who comes into a sperm bank and tells the nurse he's there to make a deposit. She looks at him and says, come on, are you kidding? At your age? He says, I can do it. She takes him into a little room, gives him a little carton or cart or whatever it is. He walks in. A few minutes later, she knocks on the door. He says, not ready yet. Waits another few minutes, knocks on the door. He says, please, a little while. He says, look, can I send in some Playboy, Hustler magazines to help you? He says, no, I'll be all right. A few minutes go by again, knocks on the door. This time he comes out. He says, nurse, I'm sorry. I have to say this, but I don't know what happened. For the first few minutes, I used my right hand. For the second few minutes, I used my left hand. For the final few minutes, I used both of my hands. Nurse, would you please help me? Would you tell me, how do you get the cap off this jar? Clean. That's clean.
That's a clean, cute joke. Yes, that is. That's a clean, cute joke. That's good. I wanted to ask him, though. Let's tell the name of the restaurant. Tell the name.
Firefly Bistro.
How
You
did
may
you
as
come
well
up-
advertise it.
Yeah, that's what. How did you come up with Firefly? What
You
is
know,
that?
we wanted to call it Momo because that's my daughter's nickname, but that was used, and then we wanted to call it Dish, and a restaurant just opened that was called Dish, and then Paul said, that's my son-in-law, he said, let's call it Firefly, and he hates when I tell this story, right? To him, it's a bug, right?
Yeah, right.
But I told you I had been on I had studied with a spiritual teacher in
Right.
New York for a while, and he wrote one book, and that book was called Firefly, and the point was the moment of inspiration. Bang, the light goes on, right? So that's what I thought. You know, I love that. It's inspiration.
It's a good name. It's an
Inspiration,
excellent
right,
name. It's
right.
an excellent name.
And,
Oh my
and
God.
Paul hates it when I say that.
Okay.
He says it's a bug.
We're talking on and on. We're having so much fun, and time's going by so fast and
Just
everything.
give you a cue.
Oh, I
Yeah, I
know.
know.
I know.
Everybody-
Too fast.
Everybody was waving.
Everyone's waving at me. Okay. Anyhow, we've gone over your singing, comedian, restaurant, all of this. Now I want to ask you one more thing.
What do I really want to do?
What do you really want to do? You have a dream. Do you have a dream?
All I've ever wanted to
Tell
do
me.
is act. I don't want to direct. I don't want to produce. I don't want to do. All I really want to do is act. I want somebody to tell me what to say and where to stand when I say it. Right? This is my art.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and doing We Tell Stories was great for my soul, and it was acting, and still it wasn't that, right? But it kept me somewhat away from that. Doing the restaurant, I'm working with my family. I got my kids around me, right?
It's fulfilling.
It's fulfilling, but it's keeping me away from that. What I really want to do with the rest of my life still is act. So
that'll go on and on and on and on.
we
That's
certainly,
it.
and storytelling. I am a storyteller.
So do you
And
hear
I
that,
will
Paul?
always be a
Give us
storyteller.
one story
it doesn't
already.
stop.
I think it's probably too late.
Give
to
us
get
no.
Oh,
started.
I don't know if we
How
have
much
any
time
time
we
for
got?
that.
How much
I don't
time
know
we
how much
got?
time we have. Couple minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
One story.
Can you
Go
a quick
ahead.
one?
Where's
One
a sparrow and a crow. A sparrow. There's a little sparrow. Flitters around from one place to another, having a little grain here, a little worm here. Never thought about tomorrow. Along comes the crow, sits up in the tree, says, "Hey, bird, how do you live?" Never thought about tomorrow. "I'll tell you," says the sparrow. "I have a little grain here. I have a little worm here. I survive. Why worried about tomorrow?" Crow says, "Okay, I'll tell you why. Okay, what if one of these little grains that you love to eat so much should stick in your throat and choke you?" Sparrow says, "I stick in my claw. I'd scratch it out." "Okay, with your claw, what if you cause your throat to bleed?" "I wade out into the river, I drink some water, I wash the blood away." "Okay, you're standing in the water, water's cold, you catch a cold." "I build a little fire, I warm myself." "All right, the fire spreads. I flap my wings really hard, I make a wind, I blow the fire out." "Okay, what if you burn your wings?" "Burn my wings, I fly to the doctor cures me." "All right, what if the doctor's not at home?" "Doctor's not at home. I have a little grain here. I have a little worm here. I sit in my nest. The sun warms me. The breeze cools me. And I survive. Why worry about tomorrow?" "Silly bird," says the crow. "Only a fool never thinks about tomorrow."
That's a good one.
So,
Yes.
who do you agree with? The sparrow or the crow?
Whatever you want to agree with. That's a good story. That's a wonderful story. Anyhow, here we are. I want to thank everyone for tonight and love you. Thank you very much, co-host.
Likewise, kiddo.
Okay, honey. And Carl, thank you for coming all out here because now you're going back to work, to your restaurant in South Pasadena.
South Pasadena. Not
Yes.
to be confused with Pasadena.
You can give the address real fast.
1009 El Centro. Eatatfirefly.com. Eat
And-
at AT, firefly.com. It's a really nice website.
And the food is delicious.
Great place,
Food
all
is
outdoors
delicious.
under a tent. You'll love it.
Okay.
different
Anytime you
atmosphere.
want to take me there, I'll go.
Oh, okay, Charles. I will remember
I'll
this.
go.
I'll remember this. Anyhow, just don't forget about our show. And if you really love our show, call Channel 36. We'd love to hear from you. and asked for Yvette, the manager of the station, and we're trying to get enough people interested in what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to get out there. Fabulous past 60, it never stops. We just continue and continue. And like I said, we're not ready for the rocker because we're ready to rock and roll. They laugh when I say that, definitely.
Okay, it's been a pleasure being here tonight again and meeting this nice gentleman. And let's hope we see each other again. If not, you're invited to my screening room every
I'd
Sunday.
love to, yeah.
Sunday at
That sounds
2:30,
like
I'm showing a wonderful film.
Oh, tell them what you're showing.
The name of the
Yo,
film.
hot nights, hot song, hot lips all night long, hot bed of electric dreams, hot flash